Okay, Stig, off the back of three kind of okay results, actually, taking into account 2-0 at half-time in the home game, came back and got the point, and probably if the game had gone on 5 minutes longer, could have got 3 points, and a good point up at Darlington on the weekend, which is always a really tricky place to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Obviously, Paul's gone on the record and saying that we haven't had the start that we wanted. We always looked like we had tough fixtures on paper, and they've turned out to be that way, many of them. But yeah, no, we've had a decent week in terms of 5 points out of 9. Good home win over, obviously good. There was a good home win over Alfreton, then a really good fight back against Bedford to secure the point, and then coming from behind on Saturday to get a point at Darlington. Darlington's always a difficult place to go. I'm trying to think about it, but we very rarely got very much from our trips to Darlington, have we? So to pick up a point on Saturday was great. Brilliant goal by Sam Osborne, to be honest. Absolute screamer. That'll take some beating for the goal of the season award, I think. But yeah, no, just really good. I think there's been positive signs generally as well, which is good. Obviously, Paul's tinkered with the squad a little bit, made some changes, freed up some of his budget, and he's brought Monty back in, which has been a big boost for everybody, because obviously he was very popular in his short spell with us before, and obviously Michael Parker coming in from West Brom's done a really good job so far as well. So yeah, no, positive signs. It's going to take a little bit of time probably for everything to settle down. The results across the league have been utter madness in some ways. You can see the teams actually that have come up, and the teams that have kept some continuity in terms of their squads, they're the ones who've probably had the best starts, whereas those clubs with a bigger turnover of players have not yet kind of hit their stride yet, but still a long way to go. A long way to go. We're only just into September, aren't we, in fairness? So there's eight months of this torture to go yet, isn't there, in fairness? But yeah, no, positive signs, and hopefully we go into this Saturday's FA Cup game at Sporting Cowser in a decent position.
I felt a bit sorry for Parker against Alfreton because it was his debut. He had a fantastic game, and then Willow went and scored 2 goals and got the man of the match award. So, didn't want to take it away from Willow, but had Willow not have done that, I think Parker probably would have got man of the match on his debut, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think even Willow said in his post-match interview that he felt a bit like he'd stolen that award off Michael. But yeah, no, he's done great. Actually, been a really good addition. He's got composure, he's got pace, he's got a physical presence. I mean, your National League North debut against Alfreton is quite something, isn't it? In fairness, that couldn't be any more National League North, could it? That fixture, but yeah, no, he had a really good performance, and I thought we were really solid on the day, and we could easily have won the game by more. Clearly, we had. On the day, we didn't do ourselves the disservice of giving the other team a 2-goal head start in the first 20 minutes or so, which helped us a little bit, because that has been our Achilles heel so far. But I'm sure that's going to sort itself out. And if we can give ourselves a platform in a game to build from by not conceding early, then things are much easier, because it does just give the opposition a boost, doesn't it, straight away? And whatever game plans you're coming up with, if you find yourself a goal down early on, it does make things more difficult. But the game, that's why we love it, and that's why we hate it, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, that win against Alfreton, and I guess the signing of Gibson, but before the Bedford game, led to a fantastic attendance for a Tuesday night. It actually grew from the Saturday before. So I know you wanted to say a big thank you for that.
Yeah, that the Tuesday night attendances, we accept that they aren't going to generally be as high as a Saturday. Transport issues, kids being at school. I mean, that was probably the night before everybody returned to school, I think, potentially. Maybe that's the reason we had a big attendance. It was one last hurrah for people, I don't know. But yeah, it was an amazing attendance for a Tuesday night. I can't thank people enough for that crowd. It was it was above what we expected, above what we budgeted for, because we kind of, well, we don't budget on numbers attending the game. We have a sort of predicted income from each fixture, and that's how we budget across the season. And that was above what we predicted, simply because it was a Tuesday night game. So long may that continue. Hopefully we can pick up a result against Sporting Cowser on Saturday, going into the Worksop game the following Saturday. We can continue to keep the crowds at a really good level. It does make a real difference to us. So we couldn't be any more grateful for the support that we get both home and away. I could see there were good numbers. I couldn't travel to Darlington on Saturday for family reasons, but I could see there was a good travelling support there. And so thank you to everybody who went, and I'm sure we'll have good numbers at Cowser again on Saturday.
Just touching on Darlington, obviously towards the end of the game, Preston suffered that head injury, and just an update on how he's doing, really.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? An incident like that occurs, and it almost the result pales into insignificance a little bit, and that's not the focus. And I know Paul ran straight down the tunnel at full time to go and check on Preston, because he's a young player who hasn't had a lot of luck with injuries so far. But I left it till Sunday before dropping him a message, because I didn't know, how he was on Saturday night in terms of picking up messages or whatever. But I dropped him a message on Sunday, just to check in, and he said he was fine, apart from a bit of a sore head, which isn't a surprise. And he just said that he needs to remember he needs to listen to our physio now to make sure he takes notice of what he's got to do. So it may well be that he has to miss a couple of weeks just because of concussion checks and that sort of stuff. But we'll look after him. He's a young lad. We think he's got huge potential, and we just want to make sure that you put the person first, if you like. You put the person first above the player almost. So we'll just make sure we get him right.
You briefly touched on it, but it's the FA Cup this weekend. Obviously, every Hereford fan knows the importance of the FA Cup. Brings a bit of excitement around the place as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I know Paul's gone on the record previously and said that we were disappointed with our performances in both cup competitions, really. In Paul's first season, we had great cup runs in both competitions, both the FA Cup and the FA Trophy, and I'm sure we're looking to replicate that again this year. It won't be easy. Calcer are away, they'll be fired up, looking to cause an upset. And we've been there before a couple of times, haven't we? Once in competitive game and once in, I think, a pre-season friendly. So I've no doubt they'll be fired up for it. I think Che Tilt's still there, so they've got a former player who will be out to impress. But we go there with the right attitude and play to our potential. Then you'd like to think we should have enough to qualify to progress. But anything can happen in the FA Cup, as we well know. But hopefully it won't do on this weekend. I was going to just touching on, I mentioned the squad briefly earlier, and obviously Paul made some changes with Chris Ray and Kai Williams moving on. And I've one or two questions, actually, both at home games and online, about how the whole squad sort of selection organisation works. And I just thought I'd spend a couple of minutes just explaining to people that the way it works really is, as a board, during the summer or in the closed season, we do a load of work to try and work out what we can do in terms of, for the football or the playing budget. We try and make as much available as we feel we possibly can without taking any risk with the future of the club. And also, obviously, take into account that we always know we're going to have other work to do around the club as well. So we need to leave sort of contingency in place for that. And then once we've worked out what we think is the right figure, we then essentially we tell Paul what that figure is, and then it's completely up to him how he goes about spending that in terms of both his playing squad and his staff. I think people will be pleased to know that we don't, as a board, start dictating to him who he can and can't buy. Clearly, we have to sign off signings when they're put to us, but it would be very rare that we would start to exert an influence on the football side. If Paul wanted to give a £10,000 a week deal to someone who's only played 3 games in the last 5 seasons, you might find as a board we might have to intervene. But the chances of Paul doing that minimal. And one of Paul's biggest qualities over the years he's been at the club so far has been the way he spent the money. He spends the budget like it's his own, and is really careful with the money. He always wants to seek value. He has his own value on players, and I think he finds it very, very hard to go beyond it in his own mind, which I think is a really, really real positive and a real strength. So he spends our money really, really carefully. Obviously, the budget this year, we've gone on record that it was increased from previous seasons. When you consider what we were able to offer in Paul's first season of the club, it's very different to what it was then, because we were in a really grave financial position. So it is much better. Paul's been competitive, managed to get competitive teams on the field with his previous budgets, and I've got no doubt that he's getting a competitive team on the field this year. We won't be one of the biggest. We won't have the biggest budget in the league by any means, because we are only spending money that we earn. But what we can do is give Paul as much as we possibly can, and that's what we've endeavoured to do. He's obviously mixed things up a little bit, made some changes, freeing up some money to bring in Montel has made a difference, and Michael Parker, and hopefully they're going to make a difference. We've been very fortunate actually in terms of obviously the founding shareholders have made their offer to do match funding at the start of the season, but they've actually gone ahead and increased the money that they've put in. So they've put in the same as what they did last year. So they put in £50,000 last year because fans raised £50,000. And actually they've gone ahead and put in that figure again this year. The fans have raised about 33 if you include the profit that we made from the golf day at Berghill Valley, which was a really good day. And that made a really they've got some really good income in that for the club funds as well. But I'm just really grateful to the founding shareholders for once again committing to that figure, even though supporters didn't reach it in terms of the match fund. And so I just wanted to go on record and say thank you to them. I think it's important that we actually come out and say that on their behalf, really, because it is incredible generosity. They're not duty bound to do that at all, but they've done it, and clearly that's been helping Paul with his squad changes as well, which has been great.
Looking to the women's team, they started their FA Cup campaign on the weekend and got it off with a 2-1 win against Bath here at Edgar Street. So a great win for them. They went on quite a good run last season, so they'll be looking to do the same this season, I'm sure.
Yeah, it sounded a bit harsh to me that their first competitive game of the season was an FA Cup tie, but I think that's just the way the leagues are arranged and everything. Obviously, they've got promoted this year and are into a new league, and I think their first league game is this coming Sunday. But yeah, no, fantastic 2-1 home win over Bath City ladies. Yeah, there was a really good crowd in as well, which was great, and almost 100 people at the game, which was fantastic. Obviously, we've made this offer this year that season ticket holders can gain entry to the women's matches at Edgar Street, at MandM Edgar Street, free of charge, which is great, and quite a lot of people took up that offer, I think. So yeah, brilliant to see them progress. They've got an away draw. They're away at Broseley ladies in the next round. Broseley being up by much when locked Telford way, I think, and I think Broseley ladies are tier 7 and we're tier 6, so we'll be looking to go there, and sure, if we can progress to the next round, that would be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, no, for the first game of the season, it sounded like a really hard fought encounter, and they came out on the right side of the odd goal in 3, which is brilliant, and I'm really looking forward to seeing if they can progress further.
The under-18s as well, they were in action last night. They sadly lost, but their season's underway already.
Yeah, no, I think they've won 2, lost 2 from their first 4 games in the Midland Floodlit League. Quite a young side from speaking to the coaches, so they're going to be sort of growing into it a little bit, and it's a side that actually a lot of them may be able to stay together next year as well, which is a really good base to build from. But obviously on Monday they've got their first game in the FA Youth Cup, which is away at Worcester Raiders. I think it's a 7:45 kickoff at Claines Lane, which is where Worcester City were playing prior to moving to Six Ways this year. So yeah, anybody that can get along to Worcester Raiders on Monday night to support the lads, that'd be absolutely fantastic. I'm looking to go along to that if I possibly can. It's not a bad journey for me being a Malvern resident, so that's good. But yeah, no, 2 wins and 2 draws at the start of the season is really, really good. So yeah, positive signs on that side of things. And it's great, sort of, we've brought them back in closer to the club this year, and we're still doing the work to try and really integrate them fully. But it is really good that we've now got them much closer to the club. We've sort of brought them out of the CIC a little bit more, so we can take more ownership of them. And we've got some really committed volunteers in both programmes, which is absolutely fantastic. And we're hugely grateful for them for the work that they do.
Brilliant, cool. Talking of volunteers, just a final one, totally off footballing subject, but season ticket holders will have noticed that we've had a few issues at the start of the season with printed season cards. I have to say, from my point of view, the turnstile operators on the match day have been absolutely fantastic, kind of overcoming that issue and making sure that our scan rate is right up there. So thank you for the fans for their patience, and thank you for the volunteers for their hard work in still managing to get people in quickly and efficiently. And we're hoping to come up with a resolution in the next kind of week or two, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, really. There's been 1 or 2 things this summer that have occurred that have been completely out of our hands, and it looks a bit like this. The issue with the printed season ticket cards is another one of those, which it's taken a little bit of time to try and work out what exactly has gone on, because there are 3 or 4 different parties involved in that season ticket printing process, and obviously the ticketing company and various other things. So we think, and you were just telling me before, we think we've got to the bottom of it now, which is really good, so we can seek a resolution. But it is, thank you to everybody for their patience. Thank you to our volunteers as well for all their work in terms of typing in the numbers, the 5 digits, rather than just doing the scanning. Hopefully we'll be in a position where we can do the scanning again in the very near future. I did read somewhere the other day that we aren't alone in having had problems with the season tickets printed cards. I think it was absolute carnage at Old Trafford on the opening day of the season with their season ticket cards as well. And one a season ticket holder at work, so there were quite a lot of people that missed 40 minutes of the game because of it. So So yeah, it's not just us. And again, it can be frustrating when it's not necessarily within your control. But we're almost there in terms of seeking a resolution. And once again, thank you to everybody for their support. But we've had a good, those first 3 home games have gone really well. The new fan zone, or with the fence around the outside, has worked really, really well. With the refreshment truck being out there for people, I think that's worked well. I think it's helped the sort of the feeling of the disabled section feeling a bit like they were a walkway. I think that's been helped as well. So it's improved their experience a little bit as well. But yeah, that's been good, hasn't it? I think from what you're reporting back to me.
Yeah, there's been a few teething problems, obviously, that as there always are when you change things. And I appreciate fans have probably been kind of walking through that disabled area for 10 years. But we've looked at I've been down there on match days myself. And we've had photos, and it's just the views obstructed for disabled supporters. Plus, that disabled area only holds 24, and you could easily have 50 or 60 people kind of waiting in there. And so we knew we had to make a change. There's still more that we need to do for the disabled fans, and a toilet provision and things like that. But for fans in A block and B block, and also the Meadow End, obviously that fan zone's now open for the whole game. So the snack bar it's not gone; it's just relocated. I think there's probably more options as well, actually, with it being the burger van, because they can do chips and things as well, which they couldn't do inside. So I appreciate that change isn't always fantastic. Sometimes takes a little bit of getting used to, doesn't it? But there's strong reasons why we had to make that change, and I think hopefully everyone will benefit in the long run from it. Just have to change habits, I guess, and kind of get used to doing things. There's a few little tweaks that we're going to make as well to help supporters kind of access toilets and things like that. So it's a thank you, I guess, for people for their understanding and their patience.
Yeah, and one of the issues that we fight against a little bit, as much as we all love our old ground, the infrastructure is dated, and obviously the new regulations and requirements and guidelines and accessibility, guidelines that we have to deal with now. We're trying to make changes all the time, but we sort of have to make the best of what's there, really, because it is very difficult to make major changes at the moment without really significant investment. We're looking at different options for accessible toilets and various other things. And as you said, moving that food hut outside is probably a really good development for us in terms of just moving people a little bit more outside the ground. So we're always looking at ways to improve things. Sometimes ourselves internally, we know we're not going to come to the most perfect answer, because we are hamstrung by the stadium and the design and the layout and the age. But we always try and make the best of what we've got, or try and make the changes that are the best of what we can possibly do. So we'll keep trying to do that. Again, as you say, Jay, thank you to everybody for their patience and their cooperation. And sometimes I'm sure people come to us and say, well, that wasn't the very best idea, and we'd probably agree with them, but actually it was the only option we had. It was the only option we had, given given what we're working with. So we'll keep trying to make things better. We'll keep trying to improve, and hopefully all those little changes that we make are having a bit of an impact and improving the experience for supporters.
Yeah, brilliant. Lovely. Well, that's it on my list, unless you've got anything you'd like to add.
No, I think we probably bored people quite long enough now, Jamie Griffiths. We should go back to work, shouldn't we?
There we are.